But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you...
What's up, party people and all you NPCs out there, and welcome to HBR News number 184. Kavanaugh Accuser follow-up, Big Red redemption, and Gab returns. I'm your host, Brian Martinez, and I am here with my panelists to look at the best feels, funnies, and what the fucks to discuss Clam Slam Badger style. Let's get started, shall we? Today's panel consists of Mike J, Hannah Wallen, Dr. Ranamercam, and me, the Doge in charge. I got a little bit away from the joking stuff because it makes the intro too long, so I'm just trying to get into it. Besides, there's plenty of room for laughs while we do the stories themselves, right? So we have a great show lined up for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comments section. On this week's HBR News Show, we're going to be talking about the latest with Kavanaugh's accusers, Red Dead Redemption stuff, and Blizzard stuff as well. And there's going to be a few more things too, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And also stick around afterwards for the patron-only after show. So CNN has an opinion piece that's been going around. You've probably seen it. I know I've seen it pop up a few times in my social media feeds. It's coming from a contributor named Wednesday Martin. Yes, that's her actual name. And it's an opinion piece, so it's entitled, "What if Women Went on a Sex Strike Before the Midterms?" You may have seen it. We're going to be reading that one for the patrons in the after show. So it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. That's what we're going to be doing after the show is over. So if you want to be a part of that, you have to become a patron at www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. You can do that either as a participant, where you can be in the show with us and talking, or, you know, if you're kind of a shy person, you don't really want to get involved like that, or you prefer talking shit from the sidelines, you can just do it as a viewer and comment in our YouTube chat, or even in our Discord chat as well. So that's www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. And if you don't want to wake up one morning and find yourself unable to find our content because YouTube finally dropped the axe on our channels, which is looking more and more likely every day, go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com. Lastly, if you are watching this on the main channel, Honey Badger Radio, come over to and subscribe to Badger live streams. That's where the live shows go up. So go to Badger live streams and subscribe to us there. That's where the chat is. That's where the super chats are. So please join us there. All right. So that is all out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and get into the stories. Now, I'm going to start off with a story that I don't think anyone knows about because I didn't put it in the list, but I think it's definitely worth bringing up. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video clip. Prepare yourself because this is a little bit graphic and shocking. Can you guys that are in the call with me, Mike, Hannah, and Mike, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the bus that went over the yes. bridge. Right?
Yeah. So you guys, okay,
yeah,
you guys can see us. All right, I'm gonna play it for you. All right. So a bus veered across multiple oncoming lanes and went off a bridge and into the Yangtze River at Chongqing in southwest China on Sunday, killing 13 people last Sunday. 15 people were on board and 2 are still missing. Footage from inside the bus reveals that the bus driver was being struck by an angry female passenger who was blaming him for missing her stop. Witnesses said the woman realized she had missed her stop and asked to get off. The driver said there were no designated bus stops nearby, and shortly after, the woman stood up and walked up to the driver, cursing. This is a quote from the article. The driver turned his head to face her several times in the argument. Moments later, when the bus was on the bridge, the woman hit the driver on the head with her mobile phone. He lashed out at her with his right hand and hit her neck. The woman then used her mobile phone to strike the driver's shoulder, while the driver used his right hand to stop her attack and restrain her. The driver, whose left hand was on the steering wheel at the time, used his right hand to turn the bus, taking the vehicle at a speed of 51 kilometers per hour onto the opposite lane. It then collided with a car and plunged into the river. So I just thought I would share that with you guys. Mike,
it's probably not the first time this happened. It's just the first time it's killed 13 people, which suggests it's like the 1,000th time it's happened, and it's just been allowed to get worse. It's like, you know, you don't go to the dentist until one of your teeth actually explodes.
Mm-hmm.
So for probably the first time it was caught on camera. I'm sure this happens in cars all the time, especially in areas where more men drive than women. When you don't drive, it doesn't occur to you how much attention it actually takes to drive, and how much of that attention is automatic, and how quickly you can lose that attention without realizing it. You can see outside the outside the window as that video is playing. He had lost control of the car by the time he started turning the wheel with his right hand. I think he was trying to compensate and couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that the driver actually survived that?
It's my understanding that everyone died. There's even a couple of bodies that haven't found yet.
I think everyone is dead.
Okay.
And
it sounded like you said the driver said something, and the only way he could have said something would be if he survived. It's just the video that they
I think it's
received.
the video that they got.
I was gonna say it's a very it'd be
everyone
a very rare,
everyone is dead.
Impossible thing for a bus like that to go off a bridge, and the driver survived. The driver almost always dies.
Yeah, the bus only had 15 people on it, and 13 bodies were found, and 2 are missing. So that's everybody.
And it's the Yangtze River. It's one of the most disgusting rivers in the world.
Washed out or tried to swim.
Mm-hmm.
All because a woman panicked about missing her stop.
She got angry
because a woman had boundary issues. I think.
Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah, basically panic because she missed her stop, and then couldn't think through the situation and decided a man was responsible for her mistake.
Yep. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, I got a super chat. Hoki Bukisa gives us $4.99 and says, "Supernovi, will you gay marry me? Pizza slice." Is this Pizzagate? Is that what that is? Are you guys talking in code?
No, this is these are some spicy HBR Discord memes.
Oh, I see.
You too can know about these spicy memes for the low price of $5 per month.
And then you can be in the Discord. Okay, well, let's move on to the next story. Mike J, tell us about Diablo Immobile. I got that reference.
I made that reference.
So it is an elaborate joke.
We could only wish. So, during the video game company Blizzard's annual convention, named BlizzCon, they show off their latest work and plans for the future of their franchises. It was during the announcement for the latest in their Diablo franchise, named Diablo Immortal, that fans decided to voice their disappointment. Many in the crowd audibly booed when it was announced that the game was going to be for mobile phone only, and one fan at the Q&A even asked if this was, quote, an out-of-season April Fool's joke. But the backlash didn't stop there. Fans took to the internet to continue airing their grievances. The YouTube trailer for Diablo Immortal was disliked nearly 500,000 times, with a 96% dislike rating.
Woo!
Spectators have scrambled to explain what happened and why fans reacted the way they did. So-called games journalists and Twitter blue check marks were quick to call fans entitled and even suggest that this was a form of toxic masculinity because it, quote, it's hating on something that they've traditionally associated with a heavily female audience.
Yep.
Don't know about you guys, but that's a leap even Evel Knievel couldn't
That
make.
was a nuclear hot take. You just don't know.
Don't want to get too close to that one. Your hair is going to fall out. Mark Kern, producer for Diablo 2, has
one of the best Diablos, by the way. Diablo 2.
Hands down.
Hands down, best Diablo, but go on.
In a Twitter thread, Kern states, quote, Blizzard gamers are not smugly entitled, nor are they toxic, and they most certainly are not mad about a mobile version of Diablo because they hates the Waysmans, which is the craziest blue checkmark theory I've seen so far. Kern continues, maybe you don't know better anymore, Blizzard. Maybe you've really lost touch with gamers, and you are now in some billion-dollar-a-year ivory tower. That needs some reflection on your part, because that's how big businesses fail. Remember Nokia? Remember Blockbuster Video? Pepperidge Farm does. Today's devs need to talk to gamers all the time. Game dev has gotten so big it's easy to lose touch. Many devs stop playing games as they start making them professionally. You need to make an effort to connect and tear down the corporate wall and get to know your audience. Quote, while Blizzard themselves have commended gamers for their passion, they are still committed to, quote, awesome mobile games, and they believe that Diablo Immortal will be one of them.
V did a brilliant video today, by the way, called "It's a Private Company: The Story Never Told," about how Blizzard, in another part of their marketing business, how Overwatch, they're constantly jumping through hoops to try and please the fucking SJW market, and they're constantly sort of shitting on them for every decision they make. And no one ever writes about this. No one ever goes, wow, this is toxic femininity. I've ever seen it. No, not a trace of that shit. And yet they say, hey, we don't, we like to play things on screens. And like,
yeah. Because they launched, they released a new character for Overwatch named Ashe. And I was just talking to my wife about that because we play Overwatch. And I was just saying, there's only been there's only been 2 male characters that have been released as additional heroes since the game's launch. And one of them is Doomfist, which is an African guy, and the other one is a fucking hamster. And I'm not saying that this is bad, but it just seems like every character is a woman now. And I'm like, I wonder if they're doing this just to try to appeal to their audience, because it seems like they, can you guys not come up with any more ideas? And they're even going to release another one, right? Again, not a big deal, but I figure, okay, this is going to satisfy the feminists. Ha! Was I wrong? Obviously, they're not happy because Ashe is white. So, that shouldn't be allowed, and so they're still complaining. And yet, Blizzard goes out of their way to try to satisfy an audience that cannot be made happy no matter how much they do. They want fat, ugly women of color. I honestly, that's what they want. Or maybe, not cisgendered, but that's what they're looking for. And if Blizzard gives it to them, somebody will complain.
They want fat black women's sumo wrestling, don't they?
I don't know if they say that's what they want.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, but I think if it comes out, they're going to say, I don't like that you represented this fat person as fat because it's negative in some way. I don't know. I just there's just no point to it. So
they're always going to shift the goalposts. It's going to be like, okay, well, okay, fine. There's a black character, but you haven't released a trans character yet.
Yeah, or if you make a black trans person, they're going to say, well, where are the Muslim characters?
It's never.
Or it'll be, it's a light-skinned black person. Where's the dark-skinned black person?
Or if it is a dark-skinned black person, they'll say, why is that person so dark?
So dark.
That's kind of racist.
It's obviously being played by a straight neurotypical actor. Sprites. Yeah, but they're being played. We can tell.
They did that with Twitter. They did that with Twitter emojis.
Can be moved.
Yeah, I mean, they did that with Twitter emojis, right? Twitter released emojis for of feet from the bottom perspective of the feet, so the soles of the feet, right? And they made them different colors, just like they had with the hand emojis, which are supposed to represent things like waving, which would be palm of the hand. And they had made those different colors, and nobody said a word about the fact that the palms of your hands, when you have dark skin, are actually lighter than the rest of your skin. Yeah. But when they released the feet ones, big hullabaloo. The soles of your feet are not as dark as the rest of your skin. This is a misrepresentation. Racism. So apparently, no, you're right, Ayla. That was Apple. But yeah, they released these emojis, and it was consistent with past emojis that nobody complained about, and yet all of a sudden, now they're complaining. It's not that the emojis are different or that the company has done something racist or wrong, but that the attitudes of the users have changed, and people have become like all pincushiony, and one more thing gets on their last nerve, and they start throwing temper tantrums about things that have actually existed for years and they just didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
I always assumed it was because police cars often have wet paint.
There you go.
Couldn't resist. Sorry. It's an
Oh,
old
that's
joke.
awful.
It's an old one, but it makes you think, so it's it's worth it.
So I got a super chat from French Honey Badger for $5 who says, feminists being hypocritical regarding beauty standards? Check out Feminist Frequency's presenters compared to their cartoon representation. Yes, I've seen it. It's
that image never gets old.
No. I love that somebody fixed it. That's the fixed images are great. But yeah, so that going back to the story about Diablo, or at least Mark Kern's comments, which are spot fucking on. Okay, the toxic masculinity argument is just retarded. Like, people, the thing is that from what I understand, because I mean, I'm not a huge Diablo gamer. I played the first two, and I played the third one for a bit, and I just didn't like it. I was just not happy with it. I felt like they dumbed it down a lot, but I was never really like super devoted because I'm more of a console gamer, so sue me. But when I learned about this and I saw the rage, I understood where it was coming from, because there were the Diablo is only a popular AAA title because of the PC audience, because of the PC market, right? So if they exclude PC gamers, who are the people who built that up, we could even say that it was the PC gamers that built up Blizzard, as a company, with not just Diablo, but their investment in Warcraft, StarCraft, World of Warcraft, and Overwatch. But by that time, they were already huge. So they were basically just mad because they weren't getting a sequel, which is what they were anticipating, on their platform of choice. And not only that, but to take that mobile version and put it on PC would probably be no trouble at all. But what really does it was when they said, "What's the matter? Don't you guys have phones?" Which is just like it's basically harkens back to when the Xbox One was being launched, or that when it was coming out, and there were people who didn't want it to be online all the time because that was the requirement of the console at the time. And the guy at Microsoft said, well, we have a console for people who don't want to play online all the time. It's called the Xbox 360, which is basically like saying, don't buy it, you plebs. And of course, that's going to...
got totally fucking canned after that.
Oh, yeah, of course he did. I mean, he should have. But that sealed the deal for that console. That's why the Xbox One isn't doing so well right now. But I mean, you just don't do that to your consumers. You just don't do that. And Blizzard did that. It's like it's like Mark Kern said, they're not in touch with their audience. They don't know their people anymore. They became too big, too corporate, and maybe too arrogant. Maybe they just felt like, well, we can do whatever we want now. We're Blizzard. Anytime we make anything, everyone's going to buy it. That's why they can just go ahead and just do whatever they want, because they presume that they just print money now. And I think that's their mistake. They don't remain humble.
They see the mobile market out there, and
it is really big, especially like in Asian
it's
countries.
Disgustingly huge.
Yeah, especially in Asian countries.
The problem is, it's also incredibly flooded, and it's so hard to break in unless you've got some really, really, really good product that
you're Blizzard,
is absolutely going to do well.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. They could take 1/4 of the effort they would take into making a fully fledged AAA Diablo PC game and make a mobile game with, like I said, 1/4 of the effort, and it would still sell like hotcakes, and they can flood it with microtransactions. And the thing is, the game's basically already done. They've hired a Chinese company to do it, and the Chinese company already has a game that looks damn near exactly like the same thing. It's already out. It already exists. And they're basically just going to take that engine and throw a coat of Diablo-colored paint on it.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I think the mistake was to... I think their mistake was the way they handled the disappointment from the audience. I think they should have basically said, we got something coming for you guys down the pipe. It's going to be great. Because I know that they are supposed to be working on Diablo 4. But to say, don't you guys have a phone, it's just, that was a huge mistake. And, you know, and then
My
for
favorite meme I've seen of that, I just got to say it. It's
yeah.
It was the same circumstance. It's like, you guys like anal sex, right? No.
Don't you have
butts,
a
don't you?
Yeah, don't you have a butt? Yeah, I saw that too. But I mean, yeah, just don't shit on your audience. You know, they handle that very badly. So, and it's again, Mark Kern is spot on. It's not about entitled gamers. And you know what? Customers are entitled. It's you as a person who's creating a product. Your job is to try to get them to give you their money. If they don't want to give it to you, it's not because they're hating on you. It's because you're not making anything that they want. So I'm sorry, but it's not, you know, it reminds me of, I remember, I never played these games, but the third Mass Effect came out, Mass Effect 3. Ending came out, and it was basically like the color ending, right? Like, do you want the green, blue, or red ending? I forget, but I think it was something like that, right? I never played those games, but
yeah, choose your flavor.
Yeah, choose your color, right? And of course, fans that had invested into this series of games were really upset and disappointed with the way the game ended. They expected something
raising my hand.
A lot bigger. I assume I didn't play them again, like I said, but I assume you're one of them. I'm sure there are people watching that remember this too. And Colin Moriarty on IGN, when he was working at IGN.com, he made a video about it, and he also said this is a problem with entitled gamers. Like, they shouldn't be complaining that they're not getting the product that they wanted, and that they're throwing a tantrum and they're being childish and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, but people are entitled to be upset with a product if they don't get what they think they should have. Now, of course, that gets a little bit into the realm of subjectivity, but the fact is, some people aren't going to respond well, and what your job is, I think, as a publisher, as a games producer, as anyone who produces any kind of entertainment media, all right, is to study the reaction, look at what's being said, and then use that to make better stuff in the future. You don't have to apologize for anything if you don't want to, you know, especially if what you did, it's like in the Mass Effect case, or even in the Diablo case. Nobody's saying you have to proselytize yourself and apologize and, you know, or anything like that. But listen to what's being said and respond to it accordingly. Give them something better, maybe release a patch, do something to make the product better. That's what I think is best to do. Don't attack the fans, don't let the journalists do it, or at least ask them, hey, you know, release your own statement saying, we've heard what you guys have said, you know, we're going to try and be better. Because our job is to give you a product that is worth your money, right? And I mean, this is just like more of that. So
to Blizzard's credit, though, they haven't been one of the groups that have come out and said, well, our fans are just entitled, so, you know, what are you going to do? They've actually been relatively positive about it.
No, most of that's come out of the journalists.
Passionate, so yeah, exactly. So it's like I can give Blizzard credit for that, credit where it's due. But I'm very interested to see how they're going to spin this in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Make the Lost Vikings 3. Lost Vikings 3. I'd play the shit out of that.
Damn sure. We'd love to see that.
Somebody in the chat said that they're not obligated to make a game we want, but we're not obligated to buy games we don't want. No, I agree with that, but I think that I wouldn't say they're obligated to, but I think if you want to make money, you should probably try to make a game that people want. Or you make the game you want to, but you try to make it as good as you can in the hopes that, you know, because you don't know, right? But if you have like a well-known franchise, you know, like Fallout, for example, then you try to go in a new direction, then you might alienate people, and you might alienate only a few people, and you might like get a whole new audience that's a lot bigger, or you might alienate a whole bunch of people. It's a risk that you're taking, but understand that you are taking that risk. So, all right. So anyway, super chat. I just had to respond to that one. Albert Nada gives us $5 Canadian and says, feminists like white guys if they are like Ryan Gosling. Buff, shirtless, and someone they can step on. That dude is a doormat. I'm not sure if the real Ryan Gosling is. I know the meme is. I don't know about the real guy. But he's Canadian, so he's probably a doormat. Hokey Bakisa gives us $4.99 and says, I'm surprised the guy who said that hasn't been crucified yet. Are you talking about the Xbox guy? He probably has. No one knows his name. Maybe Hillary Clinton got to him.
I could maybe look it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to. All right.
It's just possible that he's been falsely accused of harassment and banned from conventions. Can they do that? Can convention organizers do?
Nah, that's not a thing that happens.
It was Microsoft's Don Matic.
But if you see the quartering there, just give him a punch and then you'll be in the good books. You'll be a fucking VIP.
All right, so let's move on to the next story. We're talking a little bit about Gab. So, as you may remember, Gab was removed from many online vendors like PayPal and GoDaddy after they had been deemed to have violated their terms of service. Epic, that's EPIK, has now accepted Gab's domain registration. In Why Epic Welcomed Gab.com, founder and CEO of Epic, Rob Monster, I love that name, by the way, explains his love of the far right. I mean, inalienable rights. It's a joke. All right. This is what they say. Deplatforming a haven of free speech is not about left or right. Anyone who remembers studying civics is familiar with the concept of inalienable rights, rights that a worthy government can only protect but would have no moral authority to take away. These days, there are many kinds of online content that some people find objectionable. When it comes to publishing content, online or offline, there is an interplay between free will and personal responsibility. Specific to Gab, the decision to not only tolerate but to welcome competing views does come with the responsibility to take action when free will is exhibited without personal responsibility. So, Gab has its platform back, and it looks like they're back on the internet for now. So I think that's good news, isn't it?
And we find this out in the same couple of days that we find out for sure that Maker support is gone, or it should be gone. We got the good news about Gab around the same time we got the bad news about Maker support. Pull the plug on Maker support if you can, folks. It's a scam. It's code red. It's the worst possible scenario.
That's unfortunate.
We think Louis Laval seems to think we've all wondered about this for a long time.
He feels very strongly about it. Yeah,
whether they really have had issues with Stripe or if it's just been an opportunistic scam artist who came along after the patron thing.
Yeah, I already notified Alison because I think she has an account there, and I sent a message to Dave Cullen as well because I believe he has promoted it, and I don't know if he knows about it because it's kind of late over there in Ireland. So, but
got to go through and edit all my fucking low bars now to get rid of that link. God damn it.
Oh yeah, it's true. But yeah, so they're back on, and that's some good news. And of course, Wired.com made a post or an article on it, which we don't have to go through, called "How Gab, the right-wing social media site, got back online." Which they just said it's not a left-right thing. Oh, but they mention anyone who remembers studying civics is familiar with the concept of inalienable rights. Well, I have some bad news for you guys. At this website, I don't think people take civics in school anymore, or at least it doesn't. They don't teach that anymore. I was one of the last generations to learn it when I was in school, but my younger brothers, my younger brothers and definitely my nieces and nephews, they don't learn that anymore. So civics is R.I.P. civics. Press F for respects. That's not a thing.
And the platform is already being harassed by social justice warriors. They've already had to come out with a statement about discussing content. I don't think they use the term moderation. I think they use the term curation with Gab to ensure that illegal acts are not supported. And then of course there are trolls from the left that are occupying Gab and actually pretending to be Nazis and trying to, like, you can tell the difference too, because they're like, I've seen, since it's been pointed out to me, I've seen some of the stupid anti-Semitic posts on that had been Gab has been accused of hosting and everything, and I've seen that stuff all over Twitter. So I mean, I know what it looks like, and they're not, they don't think that way, so they're not doing it. They're not doing wrong, right? If that's the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds fake, and you can sort of tell which ones are which. And they sort of, they do want people to let them know when folks are doing that, especially the ones that are doing it and then advocating violence, because they're basically doing what was done to the men's rights subreddit. They're trying to make it look like the people that use the site behave a certain way. Then the other end of it is, in addition to all of that, um, they've got some trolls claiming that Gab should not curate their speech at all, and should allow illegal content to be posted on the site, and acting as though that's not a disingenuous argument. So like, they're running the gauntlet right now. So if you get a chance to float some encouragement Gab's way, because right now you can't float any. I don't think you can float any dollars their way. Their funding has also been kind of cut off,
Right. They're
unless something has changed. But
no, they
yeah,
got a web host back, but I don't think they're paid out. Their PayPal was
right,
taken
all
from
of
them,
that.
and they haven't been able to replace it. And they probably don't want to go to maker support. So
Yeah, no PayPal, no Patreon, no none of that.
yeah.
They may have to do the same thing that Mines did, and which is kind of complicated. But in any case, it seems to be working for Mines.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, if you get a chance to float some encouragement their way, they probably could use it, because they are getting it from all sides right now.
It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah. Hang in there, Gab. Hang in there, Froggo. We'll just stay with us. We'll get through this. We'll get through this. All right.
You are the rarest Pepe ever. The rarer you get, the more powerful you get.
It's true. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next story. PTSD suffering dad living in tent after authorities force him away from family home. This is gonna be a crazy story, but a father has been sleeping rough after being forced to leave his wife and children through a non-molestation order requested by a social worker 2.5 years ago. A non-molestation order in English law is a type of injunction that may be sought by a victim of domestic abuse against their abuser. The man who remains anonymous in this article is a former soldier who suffers from PTSD, like real PTSD, and has recently suffered a heart attack camping out in the Mourne Mountains of Ireland. The man's wife explains that it was a social worker who came into their home and made the order based on his PTSD. Their daughter was suffering panic attacks and would refuse to go or stay in her classes after being bullied in school, and the mother asked for help from an education welfare officer after asking and receiving no guidance from the school. The mother was ordered to sit in class with her daughter to ensure that she stayed there, and a social worker attended the family home. She says, quote, "During her visit, the social worker told my husband that she'd have to have him checked out. We'd no idea what she meant, but it worried us and it really upset my husband, and he told her she should leave. He loves and supports us, and me and the children love and support him, and we've always been a stable and happy family, but he's uncomfortable with strangers in our home without checking out who they are first. He felt threatened and he wanted to get her out of the house, but when she didn't go, he did. At the time, I thought nothing of it, and I explained that my husband had PTSD and he'd go for a walk to gather himself. It's a technique he's used for years to settle his anxieties. She told me that PTSD was a matter of great concern, and hours later, when I was at work, the police visited the family home after a call from social services. They later reported everything to be in order. But days later, the same two officers delivered a letter from the Southern Health Board detailing a non-molestation order sought by the social worker, ensuring my husband could not be within 200 meters of the family home and could not see the children unsupervised. The letter quoted his PTSD as an unknown quantity.
What is it about Southern? I don't know what it's the Southern population. There's something about being Southern just makes you sound like do-gooders who just do bad to everyone,
Yeah. Social services...
Not including Lawrence Southern. I mean, it's a common name.
Maybe it starts with Southern. Maybe that's what it needs to be. Social services have repeatedly urged me to attend a course on domestic violence run by Women's Aid, but I declined. My husband has never been abusive, bullying, or neglectful. He is a funny, loving man, and we are best friends and have been all down the years. We'd never have got through this otherwise. I've been quizzed on a regular basis about my time spent with him and asked how often I meet him, and I've been repeatedly encouraged to stay away from him. My father and husband says, I just want to get home to my wife and kids. Or the father and husband, I'm sorry. This is what he says. I just want to get home to my wife and kids. The situation is out of control and we need help. I thought that there was an understanding today that people with mental health issues should be helped, not excluded from society like criminals.
Yeah, 3 words spring to mind. Ableism and systemic and institutional. That fancy little pair of words. Mm-hmm. These are all words you folks are supposed to care about, right? Ugh.
Yeah, right. I actually think that this is a situation of harassment of the family. I mean, they're essentially this caseworker just decided for herself that a health condition that many people have is suddenly a danger to the people around the individual with the health condition, even though many people live with it without ever being a danger to anyone. Just the fact of him having PTSD, I bet she would not have said the same thing if it had been a mother with PTSD. And she claimed to have it following some sort of sexual violence incident rather than some other type of violence, any other type of violence. So honestly, if it was me, I would be seeking to take legal action against the worker. Mm-hmm. I don't know how things work in the UK with respect to that, but here in the US, there's actually laws you can use to get some recourse in a situation like that, where someone is actually engaging in something like vexatious litigation or malicious prosecution against you. And I would start pursuing stuff like that, because this is ridiculous. In fact, it's really too bad that those are civil laws, because the woman who did this is abusive, has done damage to the family equivalent to the type of psychological abuse that parents can be jailed for. And she is as guilty of abuse as in that situation. And if people deserve to be jailed for things like that, then she deserves to be jailed. And really, she should.
All right.
One of the things I would suggest is that people actually go and read the article. It's quite lengthy, and the write-up wasn't even able to kind of get all of the insanity in here. It extends quite beyond what we read. At one point, they talk about the social worker going around the house and turning over furniture and opening cabinets, basically going like, oh, I know he's around here somewhere. I know you let him back in the house. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And it's just... like, I had to stop reading halfway through to go like, is this real?
Britain.
She sounds unhinged.
Oh, Mike, were you saying something?
I was just repeating the old memes. The absolute state of Britain.
Oh, yeah.
It's a free country. We used to say that. We used to just say that for a laugh. It's a free country. It's not. It's,
No.
Nothing surprises me anymore. It's not a serious country.
Somebody in the comments in the chat here said something that I was going to bring up. If it was the woman that had PTSD and not the man, they probably would have
be
removed...
a victim. There are so many conditions like this that make victims of women yet perpetrators of men, including alcoholism or substance abuse of any kind, or any spectrum you can think of. Makes men suspicious and makes women victims.
Yeah, women can abuse their children and be considered victims of their own abuse of their children. The grief of the woman who drowned her children was brought up. Oh, her children are gone. She's grieving. She killed them.
Yes.
But yeah, women can be considered victims of their own crimes that they committed against other people. So yeah,
It's true.
it would definitely be a different story in a situation with not that people with PTSD never create a risk, but people without PTSD create a risk to other people as well. So the idea that just because somebody has PTSD, they shouldn't be around other people is dangerous and abusive.
Bear this in mind, ladies, next time you're claiming to have PTSD from a tweet. That means the social services will come get you. Oh, wait, no, they won't. How convenient.
All right, I got some super chats I should read. French Honey Badger gives us $5 and says, who cares about civic classes? They lie to you in it anyway. Yeah, I suppose so. But it'd be nice if we had people that didn't. Albert Nada gives us $5 Canadian. I keep wanting to say Californian, and I really apologize for that. I just see it as its own country now. But $5 Canadian says, want to make a successful video game franchise? Watch an Anita Sarkeesian video and incorporate everything she's opposed to in video games. Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be getting into that in a little while. French Honey Badger gives us $5 and says, remember, when you ask the government to give you free stuff or protect you, the government will claim ownership over you and your family's lives. All right.
And they will protect you to death.
Yes, they will protect you to death, which could be a lot less time than you thought. All right, so moving on to the next story. Judy Monroe Layton, a woman who claimed she was the author of an anonymous handwritten letter claiming Kavanaugh, you might remember this guy, he was up for Supreme Court Justice, and there was a whole lot of hubbub around him involving gang rape and stuff. She is the woman who wrote the letter that claimed Kavanaugh and his friend raped her in his car, has been investigated. The letter that provided no time frame of the incident and no return address was determined to be fabricated. From the article, investigators were able to find Monroe Layton due to her relatively unique name and determined she resided in Kentucky. According to their findings, they deduced that she was what they described as a left-wing activist, surprise, surprise, who is, quote, decades older than Judge Kavanaugh. After being interviewed by investigators on Thursday, Monroe Layton, who had never met Kavanaugh in person, never met him, admitted, contrary to her prior claims, that she had not been sexually assaulted by Judge Kavanaugh and was not the author of the original Jane Doe letter. Monroe Layton said, I was angry and I sent it out. She was mad at him and she tried to get him in trouble. Republican Senator Grassley of Iowa urged the FBI Director and Attorney General to give the case his utmost consideration. This is what he wrote. Quote, the committee is grateful to citizens who come forward with relevant information in good faith, even if they are not 100% sure about what they know. But when individuals intentionally mislead the committee, they divert committee resources, which is taxpayer money, by the way, during time-sensitive investigations and materially impede our work. Such acts are not only unfair, they are potentially illegal, Grassley added. It is illegal to make materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements to congressional investigators. All right. So, and I understand that it wasn't just that one, but that three of the 4 people who came forward, it all turned out that it was bullshit. Not that it surprises me, now that everything is over and he's been, put in the seat. They're all like, well, maybe it wasn't true.
Yeah, this is something that I'm livid that they're doing this, but I'm very glad that it was this public and that everybody can see how false allegations are being used and that the public is upset about it. That maybe we can get something done about this. Like, obviously, I am not the only one who decided to not look at the candidates and the issues this year and just vote straight Republican down the ticket. Because I wanted to send a message to the Democrats that people who vote both parties aren't going to vote both parties if you use false accusation as a weapon in campaigns. And actually, the only Democrat I considered voting for this time around is one I don't like. And the only reason that the false allegations issue didn't go his way is because in addition to being the subject of a false accusation, he supported a law that supports false accusers, the Campus Save Act. And I couldn't in good conscience vote for a guy that I know is going to go back in there and fight against other men's due process rights while advocating for his own. But I would have had he not supported the Campus Save Act. The one Democrat I can say I know I don't like would be the one Democrat I would have voted for this time around because a false accusation had been used against him. One that his wife actually came out and said was false. And that she did the same thing. She was mad, so she lied to get him in trouble. We need to start pushing hard for accountability for this. It's illegal to lie to police during an investigation. It's illegal to file a false complaint. It's illegal to perjure yourself. It's illegal to stalk and harass someone. The stalking section of the Violence Against Women Act, which lawmakers and feminists have told us is a gender-neutral law, even though it's not. The stalking section of that law and the harassment section of that law indicates that if you, while you're in the United States, engage in a pattern of conduct that could be reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress, you are guilty of stalking or harassment, one or the other. Well, filing false accusations against a person could be reasonably expected to cause that person substantial emotional distress. So when it's proved that an accusation is false, when it's proved that somebody lied to police during an investigation, that they filed a false charge, that they perjured themselves in court in support of that false accusation, the subject of that false accusation should push for every bit of recourse he can get, and the people around him should push for every bit of recourse he can get, and use every law on the books that supports that recourse. Now, I know that it's hard to do that because of the court system, because their guidance tells them that you don't prosecute women who are making domestic violence and sexual violence accusations. But if enough people step up and say, we refuse to accept that, and if enough people write to their legislators, if enough people push prosecutors to do something about actual proven false accusations, we will start to see more and more people think twice before lying to the police and before lying in court. And it won't actually stop real victims from coming forward if we only do this when it can be proved that an allegation is false. And feminists cannot claim that prosecuting proven false accusations would cause a problem for real victims, because you can't prove something that isn't true. You can only fail to prove something, and it may or may not be true. And you don't necessarily get prosecution when an accusation is simply not proved. But this has to stop.
Absolutely.
We cannot have this become the way things get done in the United States. We just can't.
Inevitable in the cerebellum is the laughter, as they say.
Yeah.
Indubitable in the Shatner's bassoon is the cake. Noggin in the jogging is the cringe. All right, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with that. So, and you know what? The worst part about all this is, even though this is out and it's like, it's in the news, this is Business Insider, so it's not like InfoWars or like some, place that people could conceivably decide to dismiss out of hand. This is knowledge. Like 3 of the 4 women turned out that, they were either remembering everything wrong or they were just lying. And it can be difficult to prove a lie unless somebody admits it or they're caught in it, in a really clever way. I suspect that this was a, concerted effort to discredit the man so he didn't get into office. And there is lying going on, but the worst part about all this is that there are still a lot of people that don't know that this is new, that this is news, because, the really big mainstream things aren't talking about it very much, or, they're not talking about it at all. And they still believe that a rapist got onto the Supreme Court. And it's not a small number of people. It's a lot of people. And this is either because they don't have the info or because they don't want to see the info. And that's the worst part about it, is that, it's almost like it can be really frustrating when sometimes the truth doesn't do what it's supposed to do because people have decided that they don't want to listen. It can be really frustrating. So, but do we have any super chats? No, we don't. So we're going to go on to the last story. We're already on the last story. We're not doing too bad. So I'm going to hand this off to Mike J. But before you talk about it, I have a clip that I want to share. So you guys, you have a little bit of context. It's a little bit of context. So, and by the way, this game, I'm assuming this game is selling like hotcakes. I know there are people who are...
750 million on the opening weekend alone.
Boom.
Is it at all possible that the latest controversy has caused a spike in sales?
Okay, so let's take a look at this clip.
You, my friend, what do you think about women's suffrage?
Women voting? Sure, why not?
Oh, thank you, sir. You are a true progressive.
Anyone dumb enough to want to vote, I say go for it.
I'm just pausing for the banana. So
that's woke as fuck, though. That's even woker than you expected.
There's a reason he's the hero. Okay, let's go with the rest of it.
Oh, a cynic. How dull for you. I do hope you grow out of it, young man. It's so unappealing.
Unappealing is what I do best.
They never can handle it when...
Wait. You want to see that again?
I was just gonna say, feminists never can handle it when they tell you you're ugly and it doesn't faze you, but that's awesome.
The fact that it's obviously, a computer people, it makes it more like a Benny Hill skit, It's the Benny Hill skit you always wanted him to do. But he never did it.
I have one that's
woman.
that's a lot edgier, but Alison didn't want
Yeah,
me
I
to.
thought it was going to be that when I saw the one.
Oh,
where
you
she
saw
was-
the one where
Not the alligator one.
the alligator one, yes, the alligator one. I can show you a little bit of it. I won't go all the way though. Hold on, let me find that one because I was happy with it personally. I was proud of myself. I thought that was
I could
good.
be quite happy with the suffragettes being fed to alligators. Like, the more research I have done on the suffragettes, the more I realize they actually hindered an overall universal suffrage movement that existed before they started agitating. In all the areas that they were agitating with their terrorism and their racism and their classism, they made everything worse.
The suffragettes.
Yes, the suffragettes. There were suffragists in the UK for centuries, actually, before the suffragettes. They didn't call themselves suffragists the whole time, but there was a slow, steady suffrage movement, and there were women who voted prior to the suffragettes. There was a very short time where the female vote had been outlawed. Men in the UK did have to fight tooth and nail to get their voting rights. And part of what earned them their voting rights, a large part of what earned them their voting rights, was the fact that they had to go to war. Women didn't have to do that. In the United States, voting rights for minorities. This is something I'm going to be talking about actually later, but voting rights for minorities in the United States, men and women, were not actually secured until the Voting Rights Act of, I believe, 1965. We put a man on the moon 4 years later. 4 years before we put a man on the moon, we finally acknowledged the rights of black men and women to vote without having to pay a poll tax or take a literacy test that was arbitrarily applied and could be used to keep them from actually exercising their voting rights at all. So, and you know, Canada had the same types of issues. They had minorities accepted from voting rights. They had, and they had, that was encouraged by the suffragettes as well. And so, yeah, the whole thing is just ridiculous. The suffragettes made everything worse instead of, and then of course they take credit for getting people to vote. They particularly they take credit for getting women the right to vote, and they did no such thing. They just made a spectacle of themselves and detracted from the actual suffrage movements that were already in existence.
Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to find that video I made. I put it in unlisted. So
They're the original people running around shitting themselves meme. Honestly.
for sure. Okay, I'm sorry, Mike J. You go ahead and read the your write up for it. Let's leave that up on the screen.
So, Rockstar's latest bombshell game, Red Dead Redemption 2, is a game all about choice. Players given free rein to do practically whatever they want, for better or worse. You can help a saloon owner with his rat infestation, rob the local general store, go hunting or fishing, and you can even punch suffragettes in the face. YouTuber Shirako has done just that. In a video just shy of 1.5 million views, viewers can see the game's main character, Arthur Morgan, engage with a protesting suffragette. After a cynical exchange of words, Morgan shoves and then punches the woman, quickly earning the attention of the law before the video ends. The reactions have been exactly what one would expect. The YouTube comments to the video are flooded with inflammatory statements meant to troll, while the Blue Twitter checkmark squad just literally can't even. In an interview with Motherboard, the video's creator reveals the reason for why he did what he did. Quote, "I know you're probably expecting some political answer, but the truth is it was simply a funny moment from one of my streams, which I've decided to upload as a separate video. Not sure if it was intentional by Rockstar Games, but the NPC is made to be rather annoying. When you try to shop for clothing in the game, your dialogue with the shopkeeper keeps being interrupted by her shouting, so I simply wanted to shop in peace. I'm sure that as a gamer, you're familiar with these annoying NPC situations.
It's
When asked
funny.
about the
It's funny that he actually says NPC to describe this person.
It is funny. And it's also historically accurate. The suffragettes did interrupt commerce. They not only did they interrupt commerce, but they threw rocks through store windows the way they're portrayed in the suffragette movie. It was one of the few accurate things that they portrayed. They were extremely annoying.
Dare I say that the phrase "these annoying NPC situations" might be sort of a dog whistle to the outrage of this whole thing as a whole is an annoying NPC situation.
Absolutely.
Well,
But,
in a way, what we're describing is the suffragettes were sort of a bit like the Antifa of their day, as in they were domestic terrorists, recognized by everyone as domestic terrorists, but everyone just let them off anyway for some fucking reason. but nowadays they really do like resemble NPCs. They dress in black. They don't want their faces to be seen. It's like you're inviting this shit by not showing your faces. You all look the same like NPCs, and you all can't handle fucking 2 sentences into an intelligent conversation like NPCs.
Okay, so I found my thing. I'm not going to play the whole thing.
Hold
Okay, go ahead.
I got only like 2 more sentences.
Oh, you're not done with your thing. I apologize for that. Go ahead.
No worries, Brian. When asked about the comments on his videos, Shirako responded with this, quote, I mean, obviously, I don't agree with the sexist comments, but there's not much I can do about them. I don't like censoring people's opinions, regardless if I like them or not.
Censor him.
Name Shirako on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.
The fact that he just thought it was funny is that's great because it is just funny.
That's what you do in roleplay games. If you have this save function, you save it and let's see what happens if I go like chaotic evil for a few rounds, and then I'll just reload it. And shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people do it in Grand Theft Auto since the beginning, and this is just like the Western Grand Theft Auto game. So, but it's funny because the fact that he does it to a feminist and not a prostitute is the thing that's apparently got all the blue check marks coming out. Because, did you know that in this game there are KKK members, right? And I guess there's like a mechanic that you can kill KKK members to your heart's content, and you don't lose. I guess there's honor, or it doesn't. It has a mechanic that does not penalize you in the same way that killing other innocents. To this. Yeah, go ahead, explain that.
There is a reason for that. Well, you see, the thing is, you don't actually lose honor for punching the suffragette in this.
Oh, wow.
You don't lose honor for killing the KKK members. The reason you get in trouble with the law about this is you're in the middle of literally the biggest city in the game. And all the cities have some presence of law enforcement. With, like I said, this being the biggest city in the game, there's literally an officer on every corner. But when you encounter the KKK members, they are out in the wild, out in the sticks, and that's no man's land. That's anything goes territory. So you can butcher people and basically suffer little to no consequences.
So the KKK are out there they're not in the city, obviously. They're out in the woods or whatever.
Also, the situation with them. The situation with them. Well, yeah, they're holding a rally out in the forest, and the situation actually turns out a lot funnier if you do nothing. They end up setting themselves on fire when they're trying to burn their cross.
So they make them into a joke too. So it's almost like they just satirize everybody, right?
That's what Rockstar does.
I know it's this crazy idea.
So controversial. They take shots at literally everyone, and not even in the late night comedy. Not that
there's a huge difference between the KKK and feminists. Not that there's a huge difference, because there really isn't. But
well, yeah, there is one very big difference.
Oh, Mike just described the difference. One of them lives in the city, the other has to live out in the forest.
KKK today, at least, back in the day when they had some power, maybe a different story. But today, the KKK is a joke. They are a huge. They were actually they're just the punchline to a joke. They're the punchline actually to a whole slew of inbreeding jokes and stuff like that. So, and you can joke about the KKK like that. You can make inbreeding jokes about the KKK. You can, practically throw shit at the KKK when they're protesting. And nobody's going to be like, "Well, you're a monster for what you did because you oppose these people." You can even oppose their right to free speech and political dissent. And not only is it abnormal to contradict you in your opposition of that, but there will be people who, if somebody stands up, for that speech, there will be people who will criticize that. Whereas with feminists, just the act of criticizing feminism can get you chased off of social media. Claiming to not be part of feminism can get your career threatened, especially if you're famous. There's a huge difference between feminists and the KKK. Not so much ideologically, but in how serious they're taken in the world. Yeah, huge difference.
Absolutely.
And feminists also aren't comprised mostly of undercover FBI agents.
Yeah. Okay, so
no, they're CIA.
I found they're CIA. I found the video that I made. So I made this video this morning, and maybe it's too edgy, but I'll play some of it. I think we'll be okay with that. So this is related to the same thing.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to, like, the male fantasy.
You see, men are such judgmental prigs. You need us women to help straighten you out.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it at the alligator. So, it goes up from there, but I thought it was really funny.
It appeals to male fantasy because only men want to feed the suffragette to the alligator. I didn't actually say a little bit ago that I thought that was hilarious. No. Or else, I'm on honorary.
The male fantasy meme is just like you had to use it. That's where that had to be there. The male fantasy meme is just too perfect for that. But
if we really want to get it on the news, we need to put a CNN logo on the woman's face and a Trump face. Then they'll pay attention.
Oh, then they'll call it a threat because it's definitely a fact of life that people will respond to that by feeding CNN news anchors to alligators.
Could only be so lucky.
Hey, Max. Max is in the chat. So anyway, that's it. Those are all the stories, and it's 6:08. We did good, fam. I don't know. I got nothing else to say, so we're gonna be going into the after show to talk about this story. And I know, you know what? I just want to say I'm glad you guys are out here because I know that I think we're like getting the results from all of our the midterms right now, and everybody's probably looking at that and interested in that. So, thanks for coming on our stream and not allowing the midterms to distract you. So, I'm just going to read out the last of the super chats because I saw some really generous ones. And then we'll go ahead and wrap the show up. So, here we go. Albert Nada gives us $5 Canadian, says, "Oh, so Canadian men are doormats, Brian. Well, Trevor Noah didn't rape Brian. Brian was begging for it. Couldn't get enough of that half and half action." Well, thank you, Albert Nada. But I maintain that he raped me, so because I don't identify as male and he definitely is, so and believe women or non-binary people. Miles
I was raped by my doormat. Prove me wrong. Change my mind.
Miles Kinslow gives us $20. Thank you, Miles. It's very, very generous of you. He says, "Hey guys, how has Trump been on men's rights so far?" Well, they are trying to do something about the Dear Colleague letter. So if only one little thing gets done at a time every presidential cycle, I'll take it as a win, right?
I'd actually call immigration a men's rights issue because a large number of the adults and children harmed by the trafficking that is involved with the illegal immigration issue. People being forced to be drug mules, people being kidnapped, young kids being kidnapped and trotted across the border because that helps the adults that have taken them get into the country easier and stuff like that. Happen to be male. It's easier to get away with doing rotten things to male children than female, and so on. So
Yeah.
this actually, there's more than one issue. In fact, the tax cut is another one. Men pay the vast majority of taxes, and women receive the vast majority of benefits. And then there is also the fact that Trump has not allowed women to use I'm going to accuse you of misogyny, and I'm going to accuse you of ill intent toward women overall, and I'm going to make sex allegations and all this other stuff, to slow him down. The whole grab her by the pussy thing did not slow him down. The allegations, the false allegations against Kavanaugh, did not slow him down, and he has spoken up for due process because of that situation. And of course, you would have to expect Trump to understand the importance of due process, considering the fact that they try to use a false allegation or several false allegations to keep him from getting elected in the first place. So it's actually been pretty good. He's definitely been far better for due process than Obama was. And in fact, Obama is responsible for the dear colleague shit. So, and of course, we also have seen the Democrats allying with feminists in terms of all of the allegations that were made against Trump and the misrepresentation of what grab her by the pussy stands for, which really was Trump stating his recognition that some women happen to be gold diggers, and that's really the reason that many women are upset about that. So yeah, I would say as far as men's rights, Trump has done pretty good.
All right.
Without ever having heard of the men's rights movement. That's why it's
Yeah.
a weird question. It's like, are you
Yeah,
talking
so-
about men's rights, or are you talking about the men's rights? Yeah, you can address men's rights, and you can even affect men's rights without ever knowing that there's such a thing as a men's rights movement.
There you go.
Like if you end the drug war, you'll save many more men than you will save women, for instance. And
Mhm.
you'd affect men's rights a lot without having ever heard of it as a thing.
Absolutely. Prison reform too, which they've been talking about. But that being said, yes, these I'm sorry, who was it that gave us that 20? Miles Kinslow, thank you so much for that. I think that yes, there's definitely been some changes. There's a lot of things that affect men without having to necessarily target them. That when you repair, it actually does affect men largely. So
Yeah, and in fact, it might be better for the movement if politicians that address men's rights don't do it in the name of the movement, because it allows us to continue to have the influence that we have. We are forcing a conversation to take place. We are doing exactly what the left and social justice warriors claim they want. We are making these issues visible and preventing those who would like to see them ignored from shoving them under the rug. And because we have brought these issues to light and everything, they're being addressed. But as long as politicians are not actually overtly saying, yes, we are doing this because of the men's rights movement, in addition to us not being stopped from that, we cannot be used. Association with us cannot be used to torpedo the politicians, because that's what would happen. They would find, whatever number of degrees of separation they had to go through, they would connect every politician that supports due process rights in the name of men's rights and men's rights activists with mass shooters and people that they have accused of being pro-rape activists, whether they are or not, and all of that. So they can't use us to torpedo them either. And they can't use their little degrees of separation thing where they claim that those people are associated with us and we're associated with them, and therefore they're the same as those people. even though, or how they characterize those people, even if they're not the way they're being characterized. So it's good. It's good if they don't actually say, yeah, we're doing this in the name of men's rights. It's better if they actually just make the changes happen.
I mean, ultimately, that's all we want. We don't really, we don't care.
It's supposed to be human rights. It was never meant to be separated between women's rights and men's rights, let alone a women's rights movement that insists that humanism can't exist with men's rights. Yeah,
and in fact,
we're just like trying to represent or represent, as it were, human rights as a thing that doesn't differentiate.
I think the reminder needs to be stated. The label men's rights activist exists not because activists who support men's rights came up with it and said, we are men's rights activists and that's what you should call us, but because when we began advocating publicly in mass for due process rights and for fathers' rights and for family unity and things like that, feminists tried to use the label men's rights activist to shame us. They actually treated supporting human rights, extending human rights recognitions and considerations to men. They try to use that as a shaming thing, and yet they don't hate men, right?
And it worked, by the way. It worked for most people. Still works to this day.
Okay, so I got Max Darrett popped in. He just wanted to make a quick comment, so I let Max in before I go through the rest of this and close the show out. So, hey, Max, how are you, and do you have audio?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hey, Max, how are you?
Awesome. Hello, my family, my people. I've missed you so much. I really appreciated the warm welcome for people in the chat. With that out of the way, I just have to say this. If people are complaining about the fact that you can punch feminists in this game as if that's the most offensive thing, you know what the real most offensive thing is? And here, just take off your headphones for the next 10 seconds because I'm about to say something that might be considered a spoiler.
Okay, I'm doing that.
The most offensive thing is the fact that the entire map of New Austin is in this game, and there's nothing that you can do there.
Sad.
And if anybody who's a fan of Red Dead Redemption knows anything about the original game and what New Austin is, the fact that you can just travel there and just don't get me wrong, the game is freaking gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. If you're not playing this game and feasting your eyes upon how detailed this entire game is, you should do it right now. You owe it to yourself if you call yourself a gamer. The fact that you can travel there and there's nothing that you can do and there's no explanation for it pisses me off. I can only assume that it's because Rockstar Games is planning on using New Austin as a battleground for like a battle royale mode or something, because that would be
DLC or something.
Fucking dope. But until, I don't know, whenever they're doing the beta, we're not going to know for sure.
All right.
I love that clip that you made, though, Brian.
Did you?
The alligator. The alligator, not even the alligator wanted that feminist. He just took a bite and he's like, nope, I'm good. I know she's like plump and juicy, but I know all that just came from
a little bit too salty. I don't like it that salty.
Yes, a little bit too salty. And you know what's annoying? You know, this is the one time in feminism's history that the majority of people that consider themselves anti-feminist, including myself, find the most tolerable, because you know what? You know, giving women the right to vote, that seems like a perfectly reasonable thing. And even the most people that are, even there are some people that might be against the idea of women voting because, I don't know, they can't be signed up for the draft, whatever. It's a reasonable thing. Let's just put it that way.
It's a good place to start if you want to broaden the conversation about the vote itself, right? Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And the fact that Rockstar went and ruined that just to prove up. This is why I love Rockstar so much. They're such a woke company. Even in GTA 5, they were making fun of feminists and how.
They've been doing it. GTA 4, GTA 3. I think all the old ones did a little bit of that too. But they made fun of everybody. That's the thing. Like they're like. Exactly. They have this attitude
like
of
Simpsons.
Yeah, they're like, don't take it too seriously. Yes, exactly.
So I can't. The fact that these people don't understand the concept of absurd humor and I can, and I'm the one that's the fucking autist, and I'm not supposed to understand body cues, makes me weep for humanity. Honestly, guys, just relax. You can punch feminists, but guess what? You also get to maul the KKK and set them on fire. It's absurd,
or just let them set themselves
on fire.
Yeah, right.
I haven't got that to that mission yet. I've actually
okay.
It's not a mission. It's just a random encounter you find.
Oh, really? Sweet.
It's a little bit west of. Well, the way I found it was a little bit west of Valentine.
Okay.
And by the way, if you're gonna get rid of Apu, then you have to get rid of all the roles that Fisher Stevens played in the same sort of stereotypical Indian accent in which he did all that. Because that's another white man doing a stereotypical Indian accent that doesn't really sound like an Indian.
I think we need to get rid of you.
You're gonna have to recut Short Circuit without the man there.
Yeah.
I'm alive, and he's just talking to no one.
By the way, Brian, have you gotten RDR2 yet?
Not yet. I got bills to pay, and then I'm gonna see what I have left. But after this and the video I made, I want it. I want it. Okay. So anyway, that being said, I got one more question for you, Max. Before you leave, are you a PlayStation Plus member?
No, but I plan to be one as soon as I figure out what this online mode is all about.
All right, cool. Well, then I will check back with you on that because there's I want to do some online stuff with you if I can. All right. Well, anyways,
are we getting the gang together?
We gotta wrap it up. Yes, we are. We gotta wrap up the show. So again, let me just get through the rest of these super chats. Max, if you can stay if you want to or go. It's whatever. It's up to you.
I can stay for a few minutes.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on. So Miles Kinslow, thanks again for the $20. Albert Nada gives us $5 Canadian and says they should give you a special tickle attack for when you have people hogtied. It'd be great fun with the suffragettes. The DCV Titan gives us another $5 Canadian and says, Brian, there's an article written about how the NPCs in Red Dead Redemption 2 are problematic. Of course, the blue check marks are out in force over this. Well, I mean, NPCs can relate to other NPCs, so. The DCV Titan gives us another $5 Canadian and says, what if women went on a sex strike before the midterms? Only the women on the left would, and the guys on the left weren't getting any anyways. So, all right. Well, thanks for sharing those with me. And yes, we are going to go into this after show, and we're going to look at this article. What if women went on a sex strike before the midterms? Now that the midterms are upon us, we'll have to see if that panned out for them, if they actually went through with it, and if it worked out. So I am going to head out of here. I want to thank the Mikes and Hannah and Max for popping on at the last minute, for joining me on this week's HBR News Show. And I especially want to thank you guys for coming on and tuning in with us when you clearly had temptation to do anything else. You chose to be here with me, and I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Even if you're already subscribed on Honey Badger Radio, subscribe here. We want to try and grow both channels if we can. So please do so. Give this video a like and also leave us a comment. That is it for me, and we'll talk to you guys very soon.
Stay yellow.